FM.
Funding for KAKU 88.5 FM is provided.
Hey, it looks like the sound is not working on the little dongle. Otherwise, you would have been, I should sing it in. Dunk, 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 dunk. I don't know why we don't have sound, gentlemen, but we'll try it again. Here it is. It's not. Welcome to the Neutral Zone. My name is Jason Schwartz. I'm your host, and I'm here with a special guest, Brad Kossman. Brother Brad, how are you this morning?
Aloha. I'm glad to be here.
Okay, back a little bit. Okay. Now talk to me a little so I can get your level. For some reason, when we hit the button, it didn't work, so you'll tell me why. But that's Tony. Tony is not only the host of the local show.
Well, because you don't have the aux sponsor.
Oh, they moved the button?
No.
This is the...
You put the wrong one.
They changed the position. That's not allowed.
No, you put the wrong plug in, sir.
Well, you see, that's the power of local talk radio. And what that means is we need an auxiliary so that when you're not on the air, you can test things and know you got them right.
Gotcha.
Especially when you're a blind man like me. Well, welcome to our show, Brad. Brother Brad, you have been here on Maui a long time. And the way I think of you as whenever I saw someone in need in Kihei, they talked about you. And they talked about you in a good way, because you're not really you're not working for any agency, right?
No, I'm all self-funded.
You're self-funded, and you've been helping people in all kinds of ways for, 25 years?
It's been 30-something. I like to explain to everybody who I am. I came over here in 1985.
A little more distance. Okay.
Back a little bit.
Just talk. I'll move you.
I came here in 1985 as a missionary to Darstad schools. Was only there a short time and met Clarence Kamai. And Clarence Kamai and I started a Christian halfway house at Harbor Lights until they found out we were taking prisoners from OCCC and MCCC into Harbor Lights. I was there for 5 years, and then they finally asked me to leave because they didn't want a mission at Harbor Lights.
This was when? 85?
85 to 90.
Okay. And what did you do after that? You've been in Kihei.
I went back to the mainland and helped a guy with a all-black, all-crack housing project that was in the middle of St. Louis.
Okay.
And I helped him there. And then I went to Florida, and I met a brother Easton. He housed 345 guys a night. And I saw a man that sent out 12 trucks like the Salvation Army, and he brought in $1 million a month.
Well, again, I am stopping you for only one reason. First of all, you have a lot to say. You can see Brother Brad has been helping people a long time, and he is starting to share some of his history. First of all, thank you for your service. You know, independent of any agencies. What I normally hear from agencies is, I'm sorry, we have benefits, but we don't have any left. Sorry, we're out. No, we don't have any more. Oh, what we have is, we'll charge you this much money. Someone's paying a huge amount to supplement that. We'll give you, in many cases, questionable living places under these rules, and some people can deal with all those things, and some can't. Mm-hmm. And those that can't live in a box, that can't live with being restricted in certain ways, and some that do, have found Brother Brad. So you've been working with people. When you talk about, you just already jumped into Clarence Kamai. By the way, his daughter, Tasha Kama, is running for council now in Kahului. No matter where you are in Maui County, if you like Tasha Kama, you can vote for her. Right. And if you like Alan Arakawa, he's our mayor. He's running for council yet again. You know, I like his opinion, but I don't know particularly why he feels a need. Do you, Brad? You've been speaking to him for years.
Well, I used to call in every Thursday morning and try to be the first caller. And there was all kinds of issues that we discussed, and I'd have to go back and review all of them. But one of the mandates of my 501(c) when I first got it was that I was looking to reach all the people that fell through all the safety nets of the government, the churches, and the organizations that said that they were there to help people, because sometimes all somebody had to do was consume some marijuana and they couldn't receive any services at all. So my 501(c) said I was trying to reach the people that fell through the safety net. And that's why I've been swamped with people that have nowhere to go because they're addicted to something.
Now, and you say swamped with people. Maybe I'm talking out of school, but you're not well funded. You're not like a zillionaire. In fact, you're on the other end of the spectrum. You've been doing it on a wing and a prayer. I don't remember the number. If I'm wrong, you'll tell me. 25 people?
27.
27 people that you helped get off the street. This is because it's an emergency. You know, I mean, our mayor has never said, you know, this is a problem that we need to consider this emergency and do things that are an emergency. How come I haven't heard that? You did it. How much did you spend? How much were you spending?
I was housing 27 people, including 2 families and a bunch of other homeless people, on $1,000 a month.
How big a space would you say?
It was a lot that I was leasing industrial right next to the Salvation Army.
I see. And obviously it's not there now. So this wasn't a long-term solution. I'm sure that was it 27 at one time?
At one time.
And how were they pretty together? You had rules and regulations, you said,
well,
right?
My biggest problem was keeping the Johnny on the spot empty. That's a joke, but 27 people is a lot of people to have on one lot right next to the Salvation Army.
So obviously, you know, the sewage facilities and all that, this was a temporary thing, and all kinds of things for more permanent could happen. But I think that on temporary, you were able to do things because of your ingenuity, and also because in my experience, you're genuine helping. You've been doing that all these years. That you did with Clarence and whatever?
Well, from Clarence, it went with Jan Dapitan at Community Workday,
Jan Dapitan.
And I lived out in the cane field out there and helped a lot of people. And then I went to Old Maui High, and I was the caretaker there for years. And all of those facilities, anyone that really needed a night to spend somewhere or a stabilization zone, I tried to provide it, even though I wasn't nothing but the caretaker.
And you had people, I'm sure, around that had all kinds of extracurricular activities. But on site, I imagine there was no drugs.
No, you couldn't take the chance, because PR is everything about running any kind of a homeless. You must make all your neighbors totally happy, or you won't be there very long.
Now, you work with, when I say work with other people, the other things that happen in these people's lives is they were going to the services that we all pay for, that we all, you know, a lot of people say, well, just send them to social services. That's going to be the answer. There are no places to live reasonably. We'll listen to a smart minute here, and you'll see the price to live here is nutty. Mm-hmm. You could be working 1 and 2 full-time jobs and have no place to live and have a family. You have a lot of you had families there too, didn't you?
We had a couple that had 2 children she was a school teacher. I had another one that had been the director of or one of the managers of the Salvation Next Door. I had his 4 kids there. So it became a community in that these people had nowhere else to go. And as long as I kept my landlord happy with the money and keeping the place meticulous, I was okay.
Well, you also, these are all, I'm going to guess, you didn't really have meetings, and you weren't there to help them find sobriety, and you weren't there to guide their lives. Everyone else was picking people apart in those ways in these agencies, because to be involved with some of these services, there were requirements. So you had people that were pretty responsible to what was going on for the most part?
You had to, because the spaces were so valuable that if someone wasn't doing anything to improve themselves, you had to move them on because you needed the space.
Well, that is sure a valuable service. You think that could be done now?
Well, that's one of the things when I called into the mayor, I used to talk to him about the key, hey, is it wouldn't it be better to find some vacant lot where they're already at and clean it up and get them all off the beachfront where all of our tourists come and just put up a Johnny on the spot like I had and then run a temporary power in so to give them some place to wash their clothes, and we may actually help them out of the rut.
And I imagine many of them, many men and women both, are capable of some kind of work trade. Anything like that ever go on?
Oh, you have to utilize their manpower because you just can't have them all sitting around. So, they have to get up and either go look for a job, or if they're going to stay around there, you have to utilize.
Did other agencies coordinate with you, or this is just you sort of picked up pieces?
Well, the Salvation Army really didn't like me next door because some of the people at night would sneak and jump over into the dumpster and salvage stuff out of the dumpster that they could really use, and Salvation Army didn't want that. So they weren't happy with me because it was 27 people right next door.
Yeah, sure. But you didn't have, again, that's why I'm talking temporary. There's something called NIMBY, which is so famous. Not in my backyard. It almost doesn't matter what the subject is.
Thank God it was an industrial area.
People don't want it here. Don't want it here. You can't solve that problem. That's too close to our development. So I'm not talking permanent. I'm talking about emergency. That's why I'm bringing it up in that way. I can recognize that in time, tiny houses, different solutions of using things. Like right behind you, I see they look like little models. It looks like small pallets. You've been able to do things and create what seems like they're supposed to be waste wood and turn them into functional solutions.
Well, because of my roots, I call them kibbutz boxes because if you see in Israel when they first came back, they gave them a kibbutz box, and it wasn't much bigger than a 2-story extra wide Johnny on the spot. And they lived in it, and they were lined up like they were beehives. So I've taken pallets, which are usually sent back to the mainland, and with 8 of them, I can make a place for someone to live safely, quietly, and out of the rain.
You would say sleep. I mean, the reason I'm bringing up sleep rather than live is I think that I would like to think that the model that is set is a very functional. A short term could mean a year, 2 years, 3 years even, but a very functional living environment while someone is regrouping. I think our society needs to regroup a little on helping each other. I mean, what you do is something that there are a lot of places and people that could do things and would keep the density down and keep the
just keep them under
up by everyone that has excess working toward helping repopulate our society with people that were suddenly not in the count. You're on unemployment too long, you're off the count. You've been in the system too long, but you can't do the rules, you're on the street. Well, now we're not counting you. Well, we have full employment. Wait a minute. If 4.5% they consider full employment, we're at 4%, so they're figuring it's all great. Well, what are you going to do with old people that aren't trained, or young people that aren't trained? Or how do you work toward building it all up? So I'm hoping that it's temporary, and that's the reason I'm saying it that way. But you're right. People can live and have a home
in a box.
In a box.
For the kids, we call them cabooses.
And if you put them on wheels, you could create a wagon train. God knows, we're all around this country. There are different laws about tiny houses and what can be, and density, and rules and areas. And
that's why, and that's what there's too many regulations. At Old Maui High, I wanted to open that up, and it had to have proper sewer, proper water, proper electric, proper everything. These people were living in the bush. They didn't care about proper anything. They just needed a safe place to store their stuff, shower, and do their laundry.
I hope that the people that are listening have the power, or will take the power, to help make solutions here. I mean, I wonder, these are not things that are, they're miracles because someone doing it like you did it. You're right, you call it a Johnny on the spot, a portable bathroom kind of thing that's cleaned regularly. A lot of people could do this. There are many ways to not only take people off the street, but give them a way of feeling like someone else cares, and also gives the programs that exist room to be helpful to people. It's difficult to have someone learn or have a job trade when they have nowhere to live and nowhere to wash and nowhere to shower. And, you know,
See, that was one of the early things I learned back in St. Louis when I first got into the ministries, was that you can talk to them once a week, but if they haven't got a place to come and get stabilized and get a job and do their wash and feel wanted, then you're not discipling them. You can't disciple somebody one day a week. You have to do what Jesus did. You have to take them in and say, come, I'll find you a job someplace here in this community, and then we'll get you squared away, and out you go as a dishwasher. Happens all the time.
and
But like you said, all the neighbors complain. Who are all these people,
not
Brother
in
Brad?
my backyard.
Yeah, who are all these people, Brother Brad? What are you starting over there?
This one was a homeowner who lost her house in foreclosure and a bunch of money, and it was stolen by people, and now she's in a worse place, and she smokes cigarettes. Oh my God. Can't be here.
I
see
had-
all the different things that happen.
And you always ask for video and visuals. We can go around and talk to the women that are in vans, but they don't have any safe place to even park. We can't even, in a lot of the cities now, they're taking parking lots at night and assigning people. They come and stay there at night, then they leave in the morning and they use it as a public parking lot.
On the Big Island, they do it. Again, Maui County, what is with you? This is not brain. This is not rocket science.
Well,
and the models that you're talking about, when did you start doing this?
this has been done since 1985.
85.
Yeah.
Some of you out there, 1985, where am I? I got to think here already.
Right.
That's 30 years plus.
All you have to do is when I first got here with Clarence and we opened up Harbor Lights, was put an ad in the rooms for rent. Do you have $50 and you want to get off the streets? Call Brother Brad.
You know, I joke, but in 1992, as I recall, I was the only person that wasn't, me and a guy named Herman, were the only two that weren't part of the electric company, the State Energy Commission, this one and that one, in the integrated resource planning of the Maui County. There's a gentleman who I respect very much named Tom Giserni, president of Maui Electric, who at that time is now very involved in the nurses on this island. Very wonderful man, who was open to renewable technologies, and we openly discussed things. I thought we were moving in good directions, and Tom's no longer working there, and he'll tell you himself why. But we've been watching this. I want to say moving deck chairs. Notice how I jump all over, Brad. I told you I'd jump all over. It's like moving deck chairs on the Titanic, living on Maui, and watching the mayor become council, the council become mayor. They want to make sure that they have local values and share local values. There are people on the street don't have solutions. There are a lot of people with money. You buy a Kihei Villages condo for $95,000. You sit on it for 30 years. It's worth $400,000. That's great, but there's no place for people to live. They're crazy. The affordable housing that's $300,000. Then they run out of candidates and they raise it to $400,000 immediately. Crazy stuff going on.
Well, with
Any people that I'm going to rag here a little bit more. I wonder why we don't have people that say, hey, the people in our government should serve what we are doing and then help us to do better and easier the things that cause solutions to happen. If we want to house people, we in the community do. We don't have to wait for an agency. Brad took it upon himself with his limited resources and wits to help people. Thank you. I mean, I'm on a rag here, but everyone that has resources could do something.
Well, it's just the Airbnb in Kihei has driven the price of any kind of a room to the point that unless you have quite a bit of money, you're not going to get into the room.
Do they know what an Airbnb? That means a rental that comes that is not legal?
Right. Well,
So
most of them aren't legal, But that's
Bed
driven.
and
That's
breakfast.
given somebody the ability to get at least an enormous amount of rent per night. There's no reason to take on a renter. You can, in 3 or 4 nights, make what you could make from a renter.
For a month. And that has been a problem. And we see, by the way, there are going to be things on our next voting here in November that made it. Some things that are going to be on the vote, like raising the fine for illegal rentals from $1,000 to $25,000.
Wow.
Think that'll make a difference? Well, it's up to you, but again, the people that vote need to vote.
Right. Well, that'll make everybody
It's really
go.
important to say that.
Right.
If you sit on the sidelines and you don't vote, how are you going to see things happen? So don't think it's only for sissies or people that have copped out, whether you're Hawaiian or not, whether you believe in the Kingdom of Hawaii or you want it to be here or not, or you feel you're a citizen. You are right now a United States citizen, and we even have same-day registration. No excuse. This is the year to be voting your opinion and really looking at these candidates. We're going to take a break in a couple of minutes. We have 2 sponsors specifically. I don't know if they're in the rotation yet. Cash for Gold, Come and Alone, which is at 52 and 98 North Market Street in Wailuku. They've been wonderful. They've been really helping people. A pawn shop is like the man's bank and women's bank that doesn't have good credit and needs money on a short term or a long term. That's a good one. The other one is themaui.miracle.org, which is a man that believes that he wants to share the values that preserve this land and honor what we're doing here in Maui. Those are our sponsors. Brad, we're going to take a break here in a minute. And want you to be thinking of what you might want to be sure to talk about. Because I'm jumping all over the map, but your experience and what you've been doing to help people for so long, I think needed to be honored in getting you on the air. I hope you'll come and talk about some of the things you've been talking about with those that are in the offices, because I really think that you've seen some things done, maybe, and some things not done, maybe. I know I saw a letter in Facebook. It was from my lady friend. She's mentioned 5 times to a mayor, we need a light at Walakahau. And they closed the highway down, and a couple of people just died. And what's all that about? It's about a light at Walakahau. Something to change these problems before so many people die. Emergency housing, emergency help, opening up things that are unconventional to make a difference. And you've been doing that. Yes. And I'm boxing you here. I'm just talking about housing. So when we come back, I want you to, open up your mind to whatever you want to talk about, all right?
Sounds good. I have visions that no one could understand, but it's all out there.
Well, I'm going to start my little commercial break here. Let's play the jingle one more time. Is it there? Oh, yeah.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
At age 30, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, you can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Aloha, this is Bill Best, inviting you to join me for my show on KAKU 88.5 FM. It's Off the Record, and I have a chance to speak with some of the most interesting people on and off the island. So be sure to listen in every Tuesday and Thursday from 11 until noon here on KAKU, the voice of Maui, 88.5 FM.
Hawaii Youth Service Directory is online at 808youth.com. We envision a Hawaii where all youth are connected to the support they need to walk a pono path towards health, happiness, and abundance. 808youth.com is a free, easy-to-use online directory funded by the Office of Youth Services. If you're looking for a family-friendly event, check out our events calendar. And connect with us on social media. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
This is you over 30 years ago.
Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
And this is your mom now.
Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
Roles change without us noticing. That's why AARP gives you the information to provide even better care for your loved one. Visit aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Well, I don't know if we're coming back early, but I think that we should definitely know that we have great sponsors here at KAKU 88.5 FM. You know that every time I see a show, I know that it needs to be supported by the public, and we have very generous donor sponsorship packages that play someone's name and number, like you just heard some of them there, and more to come. Crazy number of times, and we find that that's of great value. So we really want to thank all the sponsors across our whole station. And I have two specifically, my sponsors, Come I Alone, Cash for Gold, and the MauiMiracle.org. So thank you. So I don't know if they're on or not, so I'm going to start talking. Brad, last time and during the break, we were talking about asking the mayor. Now, our mayor is going to council. Let's put that aside. What did you ask him about?
Well, the last time I talked to the mayor, he was at St. Teresa's for the feeding program. I guess it was either a Thanksgiving or a Christmas. And at that time, there was a nice building up the street that was for sale that would have housed everybody. It's amazing what.
What are you talking? Maui Sun? Haggai Institute?
Yeah, Haggai Institute.
That's years ago already. Okay.
Well, yeah, that's been years ago, but
So-
he took note of it, and I said there would be a facility right there with a fantastic kitchen, plenty of rooms, that we could take almost everybody on Maui and put them right there, a few blocks away from the beach, because right now with St. Teresa's, all the people just swarm all the heaviest tourist areas. You see them at McDonald's everywhere, but you have to give them a place to go. So that was the last time. I like I said, I used to call in a lot, because all we need is someone to give us a place where the neighbors won't complain, and you can house a lot of people. I had 27 on a lot that was 100 by 100, so it's possible. So that's what we need to do, is to work and get them off the streets. They're you know, you can walk at night anywhere, and they're everywhere over in Kihei. It's an epidemic, but they have no solution. And you just saw here today, we look for all the people in their shopping carts. They've moved them, but that doesn't mean they're gone. They've just moved somewhere else, and that's been the way it's been down at Harbor Lights. When I was there years ago, they swarmed all over the harbor. They would come in, give them so many days to get their stuff out. It just went someplace else.
You think the statistics that we see, you think they're accurate?
All you have to do is, well, thank God we're not on Oahu.
When you see the bush move, it could be a person.
Right.
So the numbers are not accurate. You know, the thing about off the books, out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
So just yesterday, 2 days ago, you go down Alamaha Street, you thought you were in shopping cart condo land.
Right.
And now there's not a single one.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
the question really is, where are those people now?
And the
In
biggest
front of the Salvation Army? Well, go ahead, please.
And the biggest with shelters is that if you put too many restrictions on who they'll let in, the people that are really desperate and really need the help, okay? If you go to a big celebration like Burning Man, they have areas for different people's problems so that they bunch them all together. And we just can't have so many rules against everything that the people that don't have any of the addictions don't need help. They're practically normal. It's the ones that are strung out. It's the ones that are without any facilities to help them because they're addicted. We don't have enough. We shut down Molokini. We don't even have crazy wards anymore. So you can't even, you can try to get a woman that's out on the streets to go there and tell them she's thinking of committing suicide, and then they'll actually start to work with her and give her an advocate and maybe to get her into the system. But if she doesn't want to clean up, they're not going to let her do drugs in there. So, it's a severe problem, and we don't have the mental health. That's everywhere. Everywhere there's not enough. These people don't need just physical help. They need help in all areas.
What else did you talk to the mayor about? I'm just going to pick on him because he's easy to pick on.
Well,
we have. If there's someone saying they want to be mayor, I'm going to pick on all of them.
Recently I haven't gotten through, but there's a chicken problem in Kihei. We have thousands of chickens. I sat in the Zeka place and had chickens defecating all over the sidewalk. I sat out in front of the motor vehicle place on a day that it was closed, and the woman came by with a scrub brush. All she does all day is scrub up chicken manure. So that was one big problem. I used to call him about the effluent that we're pumping in off of Kanapali from our sewer plant. Could be possibly coming back to our beaches, and staff is with the people that are homeless because they're down there on the beach and everything. Staff is coming maybe from the effluent that we're putting out off of Kanapali. And I asked him, do you know that our sewer system can't take out prescription drugs? Everyone that's up there using the sewer system is putting their prescription drugs into the water.
And he said, I know, and there is no way. Well, example, I know a way. There's a hydrogen system. See, what ends up happening, I think, is someone sells someone a bill of goods. The mayor bought that thing in the waste, over at the waste facility. That still makes waste. We still don't, you have a zero emissions program going on. We are not current. I mean, I really don't know. That's why I keep saying what I said earlier. We're moving chairs around on the deck of the Titanic.
Mm-hmm.
This is a system that without some change, without a focus on affordable housing now, emergency and up. It is nuts for people to be working at these low wages, 1 and 2 jobs, to be able to stay in a place that's overly priced, supporting people that own property, their second or third property or 80th property, and renting it back to people that can't afford it, and it's driving things up, and Airbnb and all the things that we're talking about. It's nuts. And I hope that anyone that gets on council or becomes mayor considers it emergency and does something immediately, or the voices are going to get louder. Here on the neutral zone. See, we are not neutral, but we can talk about anything. If you want to defend something about what we're doing, you're welcome on. 873-3435 is the call-in number. 873-3435. Now, we're going to do more of this. Brad, what other things? I mean, when you say talk to the mayor, you talk to me about things about traffic lights, that after X time in cities, how many years ago? 40 years ago in St. Louis? It's still going on?
Well, 40 years ago, that's one of the things I drive home sometimes after hours, and I find stoplights stopping a whole bunch of people that are going in the main thoroughfare by people that are just one person on the side, and 8 of us have to brake, and then we have to accelerate. Back in St. Louis, after rush hour, you could go anywhere on a main thoroughfare and get a yellow light, and everybody that was intersecting that would get a red light, and you could really get around town. But over here, no matter what time, if somebody happens to get there when you're coming, you're going to stop to watch him and everybody else with you. And it's a shame. It's a lot of gas and it's a lot of braking.
That's interesting. You've watched what other things do you see? Any things? I mean, you always, when we're sitting around, you're often talking about different solutions that you see. Any come to your mind? Because I know I'm just all over the map here. what I really thinking is, when you're sitting, I've seen you sit with people that clearly are disturbed and they really need help. And you show them so much compassion and you open up, your world to them. Where do they go from there? I mean, if there's no mental health challenge, solutions, and if there's no jobs that are being or programs being created, what is going on?
Well, the thing of it is that I learned early on that stewardship means stewardship of your time, your money, and your facilities. So if someone comes in and they're not showing any progress and they look like they're dragging you back or using your facilities as a cop-out or whatever it is, you just have to put them into like a revolving door situation where you look at them for a while and then you say, I usually invite people to come for a weekend, and in 72 hours you can pretty well tell where they're at mentally. You can watch how many drug habits they have, whether they're sneaking out, doing whatever. But again, my calling was to reach the people that were doing things that nobody else wanted to try to help them. So that's what it.
And you mentioned you actually spoken to the man who dresses in bags. I mean, why is there no help for him? Here's a guy who walks our highway in Kihei. If you're on this island and you haven't seen a guy wearing green plastic bags, that's his shoes, that's anything he's wearing, and
with hair that hasn't been washed in 10 years. I've been here 10 years. I've been eating at St. Teresa's. St. Teresa's is a good place to get a gauge of how many street people there are, and some you can intercede with. Some of the women have brought their children there, and before long they're being taken away from them and have ruined mothers' lives because their children has been taken, but they've had no place but on the beach to house them and take care of them. So St. Teresa's is a good place to go on a daily basis to see if there's people that you can reach. Some aren't ready for their addictions to quit.
How about Mr. Bagman? Does he come? Have these meals there?
And again, with Mr. Bagman, you'd probably have to lure him with a pack of cigarettes, okay? Because that's all he does is walk and look for broken cigarettes on the ground and goes through all of the trash cans for... He's not even a bagger. The can people are the ones that are carrying the bags around, and they get their nickels for their booze and their cigarettes. It's just he's waiting for some of the people that talk to him. I'm too straight of a person for him to talk to, but other street people that I know, he's waiting for an insurance settlement, and he doesn't want to look too prosperous.
Well, he doesn't look that prosperous to me.
We'll get pictures of all them.
How many years has he been waiting for this insurance thing? 10 at least?
Well, at least.
My goodness.
I'd love to do a documentary just by staying far enough away and following and see where he sleeps, what his time schedule is like, because he never misses a day of walking. I mean, they got to have some fantastic legs walking all day. So it's an interesting concept. And there's another ex-Army guy that was blown out of his Humvee, and he stands outside of one of the local bars and gets cigarettes and probably donations. But he's another one that there's no reason that he can't have a kibbutz box where he can come home at night and store his stuff. Most people get so much stuff stolen. They're so possessive of everything because everybody out there is a thief, and if you're not there, it's gone. And that means your ID, it means your phone, it means everything. And I'd like to see some people pick themselves up when somebody took all their money, all their IDs, and their phone, and all their clothes.
I hear that not only on Maui, but even on Molokai.
It's just...
I mean, on Molokai, it's... I've helped someone, they've had 3 phones replaced in 6 months and IDs replaced. That's not easy to do. Here on Maui, is there any... that kind of stuff is crazy. So the homeless pick on the homeless, and those that are downtrodden pick on those that are downtrodden. You know, some of these movies we see, there's a movie on Netflix. I guess I can tell about that. It's called Penny Dreadful. It's 2 seasons. And it's about Dr. Frankenstein and the Frankenstein monster. And it evolves into things about Dracula and the Wolfman and the vampires and the street people and the killings and the mutilations and the people living and eating off each other and the whole thing. And sadly, but it seems like we're not very much different now. And those that blind themselves to it, that's my greatest concern. As people, like, I don't think of myself really as a strict religious guy, although, I go to Unity Church and I'm Jewish and, I go to the temple. But I wonder, where are the values? Do you see, when you're out with these people, what do you see? Do their values improving, finding a bit of self-worth and respecting of another person?
That comes from the job and the stability. But the recent thing that I've heard on YouTube is that the Seattle, I think it is, I don't want to misclaim, but they're giving tickets to fly back someplace. And there was a wave here on the island for a long time that the prisoners coming out in California were given tickets to fly over Maui because the weather was so nice and the benefits were so great. So there's a whole wave. We may be getting a whole wave from Seattle because their streets are filled, and it's easier and cheaper for them to give them a ticket out of Seattle. And it's cheap to fly to Maui.
That's quite comforting, isn't it? My goodness.
I think that we should do like New Zealand and Australia. We should have some place at the ports of entry to ask the people with backpacks, do you have any money? Do you know where you're going? Where did you come from?
Well, that's what they do at borders. So basically, you're basically saying, let's create the separate country. I guess that, Kingdom of Hawaii, huh? Well, I'm like, who are these people? They come here and we can't just take our problems and push them into the ocean. So that's really
and it's interesting what's happening worldwide is Europe now is having to take all the refugees from the Middle East. It's war torn, and in Toronto and even in all of Canada, there's an onslaught. We can't take care of everybody. They need to go back home and start unions in their town so they all can get a decent wage.
Well, there is no town and there is no place to live, and there's,
no water.
There is no
power.
refuge somewhere else. So it doesn't look like we're going to be able to have people leave, but it would be nice to know who's coming. Yeah. That's interesting but true. Just because someone says they're coming to visit Maui, do they have to buy a round-trip ticket? No, they don't. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if there's statistics kept of how many people that come over get on the payroll, if you will. I don't know what that looks like. I can tell you one thing. I see people are calling me from Molokai that are homeless, and they keep picking up phone numbers, and there are very few that are 808. There are people from all over that are living here.
It's nice and warm.
That have mainland phone numbers. And to me, that just connotes that, again, more and more people here. Can you imagine if you were Hawaiian? That song that Israel Kamaka-Viviola sang about, imagine you were the king and queen and you came back here and they say, don't go there.
Well, all you have to do if you really want to get depressed is go to Oahu. And last time I was over there, which has been a while ago, I used my odometer on my rental car, and there was 20 miles of blue tarpaulins along one side of Oahu with 20,000 homeless people in it.
Well, I don't think they report those kind of numbers now. Is that because they're no longer reporting those? Is that what happens? You lose them in the bush, that doesn't count now? Is that what's going on here on Alamaha Street? Are they tracking those people? Where do they go?
That's it.
It's like, push in here and comes out there. Like, a disease in our body, we push it here.
And again, if you come over as a missionary, one of the reasons at Doris Todd's, they had so many facilities, but they were rusting and rat infested. I tried to open a ministry with helping guys have surfboards back there in the bay behind their youth mission, And I got in trouble because there was too many Hawaiians coming to the back door to get a surfboard, to sign out a surfboard. So even some of the institutions with really nice property, they're not utilizing, and that always scared me because I didn't want Jesus to come back and go, why aren't you using this? Why is this sitting idle? So that was why I ran into Clarence Kamai, and he said, take your money and buy some units in Harbor Lights. Let's get something done.
Clarence Kamai, I met him. I didn't know him for many years, but I always found him to be an incredibly loving guy.
And he was a harbor master, and he drank a lot, and he really didn't like us white people, okay? And God really softened his heart, and he just understands we're all down here, and we have to be brothers, because if we're not, we don't want Jesus, because he demands fellowship. He demands that we take and help as many people as we can. He looks for unselfish social service and unsolicited random acts of kindness. Put them in your pipe and try smoking that every day and telling the truth to everybody.
Those don't seem that foreign to me, but I guess, we speak about it. People grow up in different environments. Don't we all have to be leaders and lead by example? I'm glad to hear that, do you find that people are picking up on it at all?
Well, it's what's brought to they can't make a good judgment unless they get knowledge, and it's where their news sources are. My push now is to be a spirit of truth. I think a lot of people are living in an illusion. They don't look at all of what's happening out there in the world because it's too negative. So they live in an illusion that's a dream world without any problems, and they're everywhere.
And they push them aside and they say, okay, I got what I need. Let me put up a wall around me and protect me and mine, because otherwise that we're going to lose this stuff. And we keep separating and breaking ourselves into separate compartments. How is that going to work for our society? How is it working for our society?
It's just that you have to get down in the trenches. You have to go where these people are. You have to talk to them. You have to set up relationships, and it's a calling. You have to find someone that has the calling to do that, because it's taxing in that you're going into people's lives that are so messed up that they can drain you of your hope of a change, because they're so encrusted and rooted, tormented, whatever. And with our ice epidemic over here, the crystal meth, there are people's lives being ruined. And after you're on ice for 8 years, your brain is kind of fried, and all you can do is go to our mental facilities, and they'll give you some drugs to turn you into a zombie.
Well, that's not comforting. But I sadly see that. It's like, let's marginalize this problem by medicating it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not in any way attack the social norms. Let's not get people to appreciate and see more loving ways. Let's drug it and stay with the way that we're doing it. We sure have had that problem going on here on Maui. I'm going back to the politicians. I'm going to take off my gloves. I was going to call this show Gloves Off, but I thought that it would be too bloody. But they need it. It's like, how can we have leadership that doesn't show compassion and doesn't express when an emergency exists, and help all the people have some way to move forward in their lives and put this together? How much more do we have to accumulate and separate? I don't understand that.
I've been here since '95, and I don't know which mayor it was. The suggestion is that you don't want to make it too comfortable. You don't want to be an attractant Okay. And again, like in Kihei, St. Teresa's Church is taking all kinds of opposition because they all huddle around the area. That's why if we had someplace away from the tourist section where they could come and get meals and park themselves and put stuff in the Salvation Army in Lahaina used to have a locker that you could get your own locker and put that. That kept people, the women and people on the streets from getting everything stolen.
What happened?
I guess it's too much of a problem. They're not staffed anymore. They're not even housing anybody in the middle of Kahului, so I don't know what their problem is.
So basically, what happened is the people that use it find that there are some people that use the facilities that add the violence and
there was rumor that
each other.
There was
and it's too much for someone to handle, and so services become less. So
they had to discontinue.
The police get involved? I know that's a rough job, being a policeman. My goodness.
Clarence and Kamai and I, we started one of the first, we helped start a shelter out in the pipe yard in Puanene. It was a Catholic church out there that we started. And I applied as directorship of it, and I missed it because my wife was not interested in living with homeless, but you have to live with these people. And we started it, and it became a drug haven. And before long, the police were out there because someone has to live there and know the place. And it was fantastic at first, and it's just you have to have the right staffing. It's hard to do.
Well, I know that there are some people in agencies. I know some people, I don't want to mention by name, that are out giving out clean needles, and their jobs, they're out there trying to, not stop something, but bring help. I hope they also bring the idea, I don't know how to get it into the people that have more resources, that we're all in this together, that we need something to raise all ships. We have to find a common denominator, that at least on an emergency basis to begin with, to bring things up and cool down these problems that we see. I mean, I'm on overwhelmed looking around and seeing the challenges that we have in our community now. I'm hoping that the new round of council people will become very active in solving emergencies on an emergency basis. And the new mayor, I'm thrilled that our mayor won't be king for any longer. I say that nicely, but a king can be benevolent, and it's benevolent to declare an emergency and help people. I mean, it just really bothers me that we haven't seen emergency on everybody's hat, because this is out of control.
Well, Tent City would do fine. That would at least get everybody in one place, so they're not
well, that's
all
a hard
over
thing. Tent City, you got to find the places.
That's what they're
I
doing.
hope that we all get it and consider it a priority. So homelessness seems to be at the top of our list. We got about a minute left, Brad, and we're going to be signing off. What do you want to be sharing that you think is the most important thing you want to say here today?
Well, if there's anyone that has a building, a piece of property, a house, or anyone that thinks their neighborhood could stand an influx of people, all of my shelters, they came in after dark and left as the sun came up. Anybody got a place, have them call you.
Good. I like hearing that. Well, this is Jason Schwartz. I'm here with Brother Brad Kossman here in Kahului on KAKU, the voice of Maui, 88.5 FM. We need more than an hour. That just shows me we got a lot to say. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being with us. We will see you next week at 11 o'clock on Monday. Aloha.